Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is James Dearsley. I'm the founder of the Digital Marketing Bureau, but I'm also an evangelist in the world of technology and real estate marketing and innovation. And a couple of weeks ago, I met up with a chap, Nick Katz from Locatable, also, which is a sort of an umbrella company of all of his little bits and pieces. And I was fascinated by what he's doing in terms of using, I suppose, big data, to put it politely, to look at how he can help the real estate sector, specifically consumers in this respect. And I was fascinated, so I wanted to get him on here to introduce himself and his company, to talk to you about it. So, Nick, tell us about Splittalbe in this respect. What's going on? Tell us.
Yeah, thanks, James. So Splittalbe is a platform for people to manage their household finance from. We're hyper-focused on helping people at the beginning of their property journey to start. So early stage renters, mostly students and young professionals, to be able to manage and split all the various costs and expenditure they have at home. This can include things like electricity, rent, but also nights out, groceries. Essentially, it's the entirety of household expenditure that's being managed right now through this platform and our new apps, which just went live, called Splittalbe.
They are fantastic. And what I'm just doing is, at the moment, as you're talking, I'm just sharing the website you've got here, which is splittalbe.co. And there's some great sort of examples here as to how you're all doing it. But I mean, just to sort of clarify that for a second, because I think what's quite interesting here, and to make it very simple for people, is that you are basically allowing anybody who's in shared accommodation, shared living, to split everything. I mean, I remember the nightmares that I used to have with tenants and housing, house shares of mine, to split the bills and who's paid what, when, where, how. And basically what you're doing, right? You're just bringing that under one roof in one app that everybody can share, and it's easy, transparent, and it makes sense, right? I mean,
Exactly. I was born in London and have now been living here for 5 years, came over in 2010. In that time, I've shared 9 properties in this city. And as you can imagine, moving that much, gone through quite a lot of pain. But I even ended up losing a best buddy because of just this simple sort of pedantic space around payments and repayments, trying to track stuff on a spreadsheet and then him throwing things on there that we hadn't discussed and trying to get money back for some, well, not just some, but a bunch of beers and burritos and burgers over the course of a year living together. And it basically destroyed our relationship. I think there's a big technology angle behind what we're doing, but at the end of the day, it's actually a company about people, and a company that's building a brand around how to remove conflict and tension in the home so that these young people can be the best householders they can possibly be. And we think over time, we'll probably be able to demonstrate and prove that we can even improve their relationships with the people they live with, which initially starts with their housemates, but ultimately ends up being girlfriends, boyfriends, partners, and one day husbands and wives, and then children. So we're all about kind of smoothing out the friction, especially at the beginning of the property journey when you're thrust into the wilderness of the private rental sector, and helping people get smarter, collaborate more, and be transparent about all this information, because money can be a really divisive subject.
Yeah, funny you mentioned there the word friction. I think it's a very powerful point, because the last thing you need is friction in many different ways in shared housing. So I get absolutely why you did it, which is why you're here. But one of the things which concerned me, and I mean, big data in itself, for a lot of people, it's quite scary because they don't want to share this data. In this respect, you've got what is arguably the most precious data, which is financial spend, right? I mean, how are you getting around this? I mean, this has got to be pretty
sensitive.
Yeah, sensitive. That's a better word.
It is sensitive, and particularly with these younger consumers who've grown up with the web and who have become jaded with certain larger companies from
the millennials do not like sharing their own stuff, right? I mean, they are so hypersensitive about it. So I mean, how are you being transparent? How are you protecting all of this? Because that's got to be a concern for everybody using it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about trust building, really. And I mean, it's interesting you say millennials don't like sharing their stuff. That is at once completely true and also obviously completely wrong. They're sharing absolutely everything, but they're increasingly wary of sharing their data with businesses who are making money behind their backs and selling it to other people and advertising services into them that they don't want. So we take data issues, data security, privacy extremely seriously at our business. I feel honored to say that we were actually born as a business in the Open Data Institute in Shoreditch, which was founded by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the chap who invented the World Wide Web, and another extremely smart artificial intelligence professor, Sir Nigel Shadbolt. And we basically learned as a young business how to build interesting and useful technology with data while simultaneously being incredibly conscious and respectful of the users, our customers who are giving us and sharing that data with us. So, I mean, our three values as a business are kind of interesting. They're pretty simple: communication, collaboration, and not being a dick. And not being a dick is probably the interesting one to harp on here, where we are not going to do things with our users' data behind their back. Over time, we do expect and think that the data set will become valuable. And what we want to do is essentially work with our customers hand in hand so that as and when we do find exciting ways to monetize their data in any way, we're actually going to share that value creation back with them. So much so that in a perfect world, any revenues we make directly off the back of that data, I would love to be splitting it with our users. Now, we're still at an early stage where we're actually much more focused on growth in terms of our user base and in terms of the data in general, rather than the monetization angle. But it's something we take super seriously. We do customer workshops all the time. We work hand in hand with the Open Data Institute and other experts in this field to make sure that what we're building is not going to freak these young millennials out, and instead we're wrapping them into the whole development process of our company.
And I think that's probably the most important thing about it, right? Because if you're bringing them along in your journey and everything is hyper contextual to them, and I think that's probably the most important thing, because at times I hear the word millennial and context mixed together because people are just fed up. Well, actually, in fact, you know what? Everyone's fed up of giving data away and just getting crap back. Right? Yeah. Because every other one is being a dick, right? That's the main thing. So I love that. Communication. What is it? Communication, collaboration, and not being a dick.
Exactly.
Hey, look, if you could be that transparent with the millennials, I'm sure they'll be happy. But
well, I am a millennial. I think I'm still there. I'm 31, so I think
I miss it by about 2 years. I'm devastated. About 2 years. But on a more serious note, and let's just sort of bring it back into the real estate angle here for a second, because I mean, one of my big criticisms in sort of the real estate innovation and marketing space is the fact that we're not using data enough. We're not using software enough. I mean, how are your feelings in terms of this data space and real estate? Where are we? Why aren't we doing this?
I think we're probably just at the beginning of what's going to become the most exciting time in property technology and data ever in terms of real estate. I'm keeping a close tabs on all the businesses in the States and also in the UK, around Europe and in Asia, of who's doing what in the sort of property technology space. But this stuff is brand new. People have been operating dumb for a really, really long time in the real estate market. I know because I did. I was doing cold calling and really basic stuff when I started as an investment agent in Washington, D.C. But last year saw $1.4 billion worth of investment come into the property technology landscape in 1 year. That has never happened before in the venture capital space. Almost 1 billion of that went into the US, and then the lion's share of the rest of it went into the UK. So I think 2015 is going to be the biggest year, especially in this country, for this whole space to emerge. And I'm looking at a lot of different businesses that are starting to use data to create interesting services for agents, for consumers, for suppliers. And it's really fascinating seeing how this mix is evolving and seeing who's working with who. A lot of people talk about disruption, but I think, in some ways it's almost more important to think about how you can help existing players rather than disintermediate them. I also feel I know that because we looked at that model and realized it wasn't where we wanted to end up being. It would cost too much money, and it had a high chance of not working.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of the things I often say to some of the companies I work with. I just say, look, the old adage of understand your market, understand your consumer, right? That's what we've all been told. There's a mantra around it. I now add the other one on there, which is understand your consumer, understand your market, understand your data. If you're not understanding your data in this world, you know what? You're going to lose out because that's where the smart money is, right?
Yeah.
And you're correct. The amount of money, I think, if I'm correct, the amount of money that the VCs invested in the US, actually, in the US alone, in the last quarter of 2014, was more than the entire investment of the whole 2013. That just shows you where this sort of real estate innovation and tech stuff is all about. So, well, look, we haven't got time to go into much more detail because I try and keep this short and sharp. But Splittalbe, it is now out there on both App Store and Google Play. Is that right now?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. And look, if any of you guys want to know more, go to splittalbe.co or .co. I can never remember how to pronounce it. Is that CO? CO, right?
Yeah, depending how quick you want to say it.
I'm relaxed. I'm chilled. All right, so look, do check it out. Splittalbe.co and Nick Katz. Nick, thanks for joining me, mate. I wish you all the very best with this launch. I'm sure, having looked at it and used it, it is a really good tool. And actually, what we haven't even mentioned, and what I particularly like about all of this, for those of you who are interested in this stuff, is that what Nick's done with Splittalbe is he's right at the start of the journey of the property market, right? Yes. Those guys who are in the house share market are going to be going all the way through the rental space, the private rental, sale, and so on and so forth. You imagine how we can use big data in terms of tracking everybody from the start of their journey all the way through to when they retire. Massive market in this. Love it. Nick, thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, James. Cheers.
Cheers.